Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and my law firm assists physicians with employment contract and independent contractor agreement review. Today I'm going to talk about red flags in a J1 employment contract. So if you're a physician and needing or going through the J1 Conrad waiver program, obviously you're a foreign medical grad, and going through the J1 program allows the physician to eventually obtain their green card. And so the requirements of any J1 program are a 3-year commitment in an underserved area on a full-time basis. And so every state kind of has their own way of handling J1 contracts. And so the easiest thing I've found, and most of the health departments in each state are the ones that are in charge of the J1 program in the state. Now, if you're interested in the requirements, just Google the state you're interested in moving to, and they'll usually have a packet of information. Now, the important part is that within that packet of information, they're going to have the requirements that have to be in the employment agreement. Now, there are some things that will not change state to state, and that would be, it must be for 3 years. It must state that the physician will work at least on average 40 hours a week, so you have to be a full-time. And then it has to list where the care is provided and that it's a underserved area. So some of the variables involved with that, some states state that it cannot have without cause termination, and this is very important. So a normal physician employment agreement is going to have language that states either party can terminate the agreement at any time for any reason with a certain amount of notice to the other party. Now, 99 times out of 100, I would say this is absolutely necessary in a contract for a physician. You would never want to enter into an agreement that you cannot get out of quickly, right? Like if things go bad, if you feel unsafe, if you're on a productivity compensation structure and the volume is just terrible and you're not making any money, like you never want to be stuck in a contract. However, if you are a J1, the worst case scenario is you're 2.5 years into your 3-year period, and then for whatever reason, financially, there's a personality conflict, the employer lets you go, and now you're stuck because it's not easy to transfer from one J1 position to another, and you certainly aren't going to do it quickly. So you want to make certain that the contract does not allow for without cause termination. Now, the downside for the physician, obviously, is you can get stuck in one of those positions where it's just a bad situation emotionally, financially, whatever. So in almost any other scenario, I would say it's a key part of the agreement. In a J1 contract, you absolutely do not want to give the other side the ability to terminate the contract for any reason. So that's the first thing that needs, should be in the contract. The second thing would be non-competes. So many states will not allow a non-compete in a J1 contract. And it will explicitly state you cannot have a non-compete. However, many states, it's completely blank as far as whether it can or can't be in there. As you know, there are a few states, well, maybe you don't, but there are a handful of states where non-competes are completely unenforceable. So no matter what, if it's in the contract, it is not enforceable via state law. But the vast majority of states in the United States do allow at least some kind of reasonable non-compete. Now, whether it's in there or not, is that a deal breaker? I would say not. I mean, honestly, most J1s, you're working in an area that's underserved or undesirable, generally for a reason. So most J1s, when they complete their 3-year period, move on to an area of the country or a position that they're more interested in. So most of the time, the non-compete is not going to be a problem. Now, if you're taking a job as a J1 and maybe it's already in a place that you want to stay, then you need to be careful that the non-compete is reasonable and isn't going to force you to leave the area, if you did want to stay and continue practicing whatever specialty you're in. So that's the second consideration. The third would be compensation. Now, they are supposed to provide a fair market value amount. I have seen some that are below, and my guess is they just think that a J1 doesn't have a ton of other opportunities, and so they can kind of lowball them. So make certain that you're being paid a reasonable amount, and don't enter into a contract that is pure productivity based or even majority productivity based because of what I mentioned before of not being able to terminate the contract if it's a J1. So the best case scenario is that you're just paid a guaranteed base amount and your volume or productivity has nothing to do with how much you would make. Just to illustrate the point, let's say you enter into a job, it's pure net collections based. So meaning you get a percentage of whatever the practice brings in on your behalf. If you're in a 3-year contract and you can't terminate the agreement and you're paid purely on net collections and the volume is not there, you're in a tough spot. So once again, as I said before, they're mandated to provide some kind of fair market value compensation, but just make sure it's a guaranteed fair market valued base, and that will protect you from any kind of volume problems, especially if you're locked in for 3 years. So those are 3 things to think about in a J1 contract. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Or if you want to review, you can reach us at our contact information listed below in the description. And I appreciate you watching the video. Thank you.